For you, the listeners of My JavaScript Story, Loot Crate is offering an opportunity to save 10% on any new subscription at lootcrate.com. Just enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Loot Crate is one of my favorite things. Every month I get a box in the mail, costs less than $20, and it comes with all kinds of goodies. I have stuff from, just looking at my shelf, Batman, Spider-Man, Ninja Turtles, Back to the Future, Lord of the Rings, Star Wars, and much, much more. So if you're a geek, a gamer, anything like that, and you want cool stuff to put around your office, cool t-shirts, comic books, etc., then definitely check out Loot Crate. To save 10% on your new subscription, go to lootcrate.com/Ruby. Again, that's lootcrate.com/Ruby to save 10% on any new subscription. Enter the promo code BRIDGE10 for 10% savings. Hey everybody, and welcome to another My Ruby Story. This week we're talking to Jerome Hardaway. Jerome, do you want to say hi?
Hey everybody, how are you guys doing?
Now, I would list all the episodes you were on, but you were on a few because you used to be on the panel for Ruby Rogue. So instead of doing that, I'm kind of curious, do you want to just talk about your experience being a panelist for a minute?
Yeah, sure. I'm a panelist. My experience as a panelist is pretty cool. We're able to do a lot of cool things and meet a lot of people. It was a great it's a great way of showing your knowledge, showing how you interact with people on a technical level, showing how you interact with people on a non-technical level, adding to your personality. And especially as someone who was trying to get to the next level, I've always been a person that's always trying to reach my career goals in as expeditious time as possible. But getting to that next level, being a panelist on Ruby Rogue, so it was really great. So yeah, that was, I guess, basically in a nutshell, that was my experience.
Cool. And just to put a few things in there, you did come on as a guest for episode 279 of Ruby Rogues talking about Vetsu code. Yeah. And episode 239 of JavaScript Jabber also talking about Vetsu code. So both of those episodes talking about Vetsu code, work we do with the veterans for free there. And then I was able to transition on as a panelist. I did that for almost a year, I think. Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. So
very cool. Well, let's dive in and talk about your story. Let's figure out what makes Jerome tick. I'd like to start with how you got into programming.
Well, I got into programming by accident. I was security forces in the Air Force. I ended up getting out of the military, and I ended up getting out of the military during the recession. So I'm out with what we like to call our DD-214, our magic ticket, thinking that, some company's going to snatch me up quickly. And that was the biggest mistake that I ever thought of. I was getting the classic, thank you for your service, but you're not qualified to work here.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I was, just like I said, it's 2009, 2010 time frame, going everywhere, and basically the only jobs that I was technically qualified for on a civilian side were law enforcement, LEO style jobs, or private military contractor, or security guard if I didn't want to do any of those. And LEO jobs were not hiring. There was a government freeze on that. Private military contractor just did not feel attractive to me at all. And the other one, security guard, that job didn't pay well at all.
Right.
So I was just 3 months into the game of being from active duty to a veteran, thinking what were my next steps. So I had a nice little savings, but I knew that wasn't going to last forever. And I happened to see this commercial about all these other job opportunities, including coding. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, let me see what this coding thing is about. Like, I did some research on it, and I just happened to have an old book on SQL. And after that, I was going through this book, and I ended up getting good enough in that SQL to the point where I was able to get a job with the Department of Security, dealing with databases. And that was a wrap. Took some time off to go back home to Memphis to help a sick family relative, and then a sick relative. And then I was able to get back to the game a little bit, took a job in a nonprofit as a marketing assistant. But when you're like 24, 25, the first thing that they do is they tell you to fix your website because you're young, so you should be able to figure it out. So that quickly introduced me to WordPress, and it quickly made me hate WordPress. Yeah, biggest turn and burn of like being burned out by a language framework is probably that time frame. And that got me, but I was able to do 3 versions of their site that way. Fast forward to 2014. Summer 2014, there's a huge scandal type thing going on with the VA. And there was, in my hometown, there was a veteran had fallen, lost his life during a situation. Police, they stuck him as being armed. And the problem was, Department of Veteran Affairs said they weren't at fault. So as a result, they were going to give his family money for like $300 for his burial, but that was it. Yeah, so I ended up using my technical skills and my marketing skills, and I ran a campaign with a web app that I had made so that people could pay directly to the family and stuff, and that raised, I think, $10,000, 27 hours. Well, that had gotten the attention of like the guys at General Assembly because I had built a product that actually had tangible results, and they had invited me to go to GA for 3 months on a scholarship. So I went to New York in November and never looked back.
You said GA, that's General Assembly, right?
Yeah. So, and then that was pretty much my big, incubator code school experience. I was one of the few people that came in that already had kind of a product, and for me, people were thinking about their end of year project, things like that. I was only thinking about how to make Vetsu code better. Yep. So, and, having a project that was out, and I think that's something that people really don't think about, especially new troops or new programmers. They always think about their portfolio, and having a bunch of things to showcase a few things, but having something that works, that has tangible results, outweighs having a portfolio or GitHub filled with fluff, any day of the week. Like, you can have a bunch of piddly projects all you want to, but people usually go for, products over projects any day of the week. And that's something I wish more code schools would teach, their, grads coming out, building something that users use, and you're able to tell, just not only talk about business logic, but being able to talk about, business logic on the code side, but business logic on the business side, makes more sense. How do you make these business decisions to do this, do that, do third? That is something that I think really helped me. I ended up getting my first job 6 weeks into the cohort. This cohort was 12 weeks long. Had a job offer already signed, and that was a Rails position. I chose Ruby on Rails outside looking for like more JavaScript or easier front end stuff at the time, because that was before the front end development got so sophisticated. This was,
right.
React was just a baby. People were using Angular 1 and hated Angular 1. Ember was just coming out at this time. So I used it. It was a tactical decision. I knew that if I was using Ruby on Rails back home, even though it wasn't the most popular stack at home, I might be back home in Memphis. It was a Java PHP town. But I knew that by going this route, one, I would have higher possibilities of getting a job as being, I'm not someone switching over from another language. I'm someone that's native to idiomatic Ruby from the code school, and 2, the chances of getting fired shorter because they wouldn't be able to replace me as long. Right. So they have to invest more time in helping me grow. So that was my decision. Why my decision was based upon that. End up, of course, finding there's like 3 Ruby positions in the whole city. Ended up getting one of them, and was able to just focus on Ruby on Rails for the entire time I was there, about two years.
Right.
And
so did you come across Ruby on Rails then at General Assembly, or were you looking at it before then?
I had looked at it a little bit before then, but I just, because, in the end, you might see something you like, but you're not really, running towards it because of work or whatever. And I saw it, when I was working in PHP, because, PHP made me hate PHP, and I was looking for something here. And Ruby was it. Like Ruby, everything was an object. It read like really bad 2-year-old English, but I could deal with that. Like because it was, it was simple. It's one of those things where Ruby is simple and beautiful. Rails can be Ruby's easy. Rails has a learning curve, and that's always been my experience with the language and the frameworks. Is that I've always been a better Rubyist than a better Rails developer. So,
right,
like that is one thing that I liked about it was just how easy it was for me to be able to solve problems in the language.
Yeah, absolutely. And I got into when I got into Ruby, it was through Rails, and I figured out, a lot of these mechanisms in Ruby they enable what I'm doing in Rails, but it's Ruby that's both the thing that's most powerful and what provides what I like about Rails.
Yeah, totally.
There's definitely a learning curve for Rails. I'm curious, have you found that the learning curve has gotten steeper for Rails? There's always this endless debate, and I'm kind of curious where you come down on that.
I think it has. I think it's gotten steeper in a different sense. I think the community or the job market in America, per se. I don't know. I can speak. I think in Japan, you still can be a Ruby purist and get away with it and get employed. But in America, Ruby is attached to Rails, and Rails isn't playing. Being a Rubyist and being a Rails developer isn't playing, center stage when it comes to many applications. Is you have to know this while also being adequate at some front end framework in coupling or decoupling them. So I think that's the biggest issue with a lot of companies right now, is that why they're not having the type of results and metrics that they want, is that they want their Rubyists and their Rails devs to, play, to have the thing that they love or the thing they're expert in play second fiddle to React. Like, is at the point now where Ruby on ROR doesn't stand for Ruby on Rails, it stands for React on Rails, because that is right now the most common one that's connected to Rails. I think maybe GitHub is one of the few ones that I've seen that still is just looking for pure Rails developers. But most companies are looking for a Rails developer with React experience, or a Rails developer with Angular experience, or a Rails developer with Ember experience. So it's not Rails that's taking the center stage anymore. And that's what's making it so much harder, because in the end, Rails developers, they have to keep up with the things that are coming out with Rails, like, Rails 5 and, the new features that are going to be coming out. And then they have to keep up with, the JavaScript community, which will quickly lead to burnout. And so we're doing two things where people are not, because now you have two sophisticated systems instead of one sophisticated system and one system that, one language that you have to use just for the front end. You have a sophisticated system and framework for just the front end, sophisticated framework for the server-side code, and you have to be able to actively work with them both. And that is causing a problem where people are either are capable of being the level of expertise that makes them feel adequate in both. So you're having to sacrifice here and there, or people who are like me, professionally choosing to just the difference between one or the other and just going one direction because it's easier to go that route.
That's interesting. And I think you've got the right idea there. I mean, the core principles that make up Rails and made it nice and easy and, quick development, all that stuff. Yeah, that's definitely, most of that's not changed a ton. But yeah, it's just the nature of where web is going that's changed the game. I think that's it's a summary of what you said, and I think what you said is pretty accurate, is that, more and more companies are looking for some of these systems to manage their front end.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, what have you done in Ruby and Rails that you're particularly proud of?
I think the most thing I did was my first job was most thing I was proud of. Like being able to come in green is all get out. Like being the right person for the job when I clearly was the wrong person for the job on paper was like the most proud I could ever be. Getting into a job and, you're sinking, you're always, I come in and I'm thinking that I'm going to have a mentor, like this is going to be a perfect web development job. It's going to be like stuff I see on TV and all the pictures on like the views and LinkedIn. Nah, I'm the only Rails developer. The senior guy is a PHP developer, never touched Rails a day in his life. And the other developer is a .NET developer. So,
Nice.
and here I am with, they have 4 Rails apps for me that I'm supposed to maintain, 3 Rails apps that I need to build is in the docket. I'm not only learning about the web, I'm learning how different countries use the web, having to figure out, how to use Ruby on Rails. And, I'm being, and it's one situation that got really hairy is I was building a Rails app for a company in Japan through them. And the company in Japan, they were mad that they couldn't use any Japanese Rubyists or Japanese Ruby on Rails developers because obviously Ruby's built in Japan. So why would they pay an American company to use a framework that, can easily been done like probably 10 times better over there because it was, it's home. So it was just like, it was crazy. I had to learn how to use Rails. I think, and it wasn't really new back then. I mean, it wasn't really often used back then. I had to learn how to use Node and Rails in conjunction with each other. So I did my first little microservice style component all in Rails, and that was new. It was all about being able to use this Node package to, pull in all the postal codes for Japan. And I don't know if you guys know about Japanese postal codes, but every street has a postal code. It's not like America at all. So every block has its own postal code. So every time they're doing new development, things like that, they're adding a postal code. So they're like, I think they have there are millions more postal codes than there are in America. And going through that process of trying to use this package so that regularly updated that was from Node into Ruby and not having a Ruby gem for that and thinking, well, maybe I could, trying to find all the solutions to it. It took me like 3 days to get to a adequate solution. And when I finally got there, it was just like, I solved the problem, didn't get fired. It's pretty cool. So that was like one of my, that's something I'm most proud of, being able to say, I worked on apps that, were live in Australia or live in Japan or, live in Germany and things like that. And you're looking at something and you're looking at web traffic or you're looking at the price point that a client has made for an app you built. And you're like, holy shit, like this dude's, he's paid $1 million for this thing. And I just built $1 million app. Like, oh my goodness, like what am I supposed to do with my life after this? I've arrived, it's over. But now I know there's so much more. And
yep, absolutely. Well, I love just the aspects of that, right? That first job, I shouldn't have gotten this job, but I did what I had to make it work. And again, just, being willing to learn and picking this stuff up and just the personal drive. I think it says a lot about you, but I think it also says a lot about, just what people can really accomplish. The limiting factor in a lot of ways is you.
Yeah, one of the things I teach to my students, I just had a veteran just accept a job offer at Microsoft, right? And it comes down like what I've seen in my veterans who don't perform as well as some of the others is they're looking from software engineering the same way or web development and boot camps from how it's being sold by for-profit boot camps. Like, the education stops at the boot camp where it's more, here's a training, here you go to the job. Like, my approach to even picking the students is totally different from boot camps. I'm trying to scare you away. I'm like, this is, I treat it like boxing. Like, this is the hardest job you ever have. Like, why would you want to do this for yourself? Like, you are aware that you'll never stop learning, right? Like, all that free time you have is gone. All that, you might have to pick a day where you have to binge all your shows, but you're trying to stay up at midnight to like watch that, be at GameStop when the new game drops. That life is over. So I try to scare them away because I'm like, this is hard and it's a never stop and it's a skills pay the bills job. You get into it, but you get out of it. If you're not getting the type of results that you want, first thing I'm going to do is ask for your GitHub, and then I'm going to point out what's the issues. Like, or you have 30 commits in your GitHub. Like, no one's going to call you with that. Or look at your projects. So none of your projects are fully fleshed out. So no one will call you for that. Things like that. And this guy, he was, for going back to Microsoft Troop, he's very, high speed. He's always asking. And when we were helping him with his project, we were showing him how to use Node, Azure, and he always, he's always pushing the envelope. And that's something that, I try to put in my own experience. I tell them, I'm up to 4:30 every day training. Like, I spend the first 2 hours training my skill, because that's, what I depend on. Like, I can go work out, or I can go and do the things that are needed for me to make sure I have the money to afford the gym I want to go to, right?
Yep.
And then, that's how I teach them. Like, I teach them from that point of view. Skills pay the bills, and I would never make you do something or tell you to do something I've never done, type
Right.
deal, or that I wouldn't do. And I think it's easier when people wake up and they see that I've already been on Slack for 2-3 hours. So they see I got 6 Git pushes already. I pushed
Right.
the Git. So that just helps them with their motivation.
Yeah, that makes sense. I kind of want to move on and talk a little bit about Vetsu Code.
Sure, go for it. How you doing?
So, do you want to just talk a little bit about what that is and how that got started?
Well, yeah. Well, it was started in 2014 while I was actually right before I left for code school. But it's a 100% remote, one of the first of its kind, remote software engine, remote nonprofit. We don't charge. It's highly selective, but we don't charge the veterans at all. All we do is that we take what the veteran is. We choose the veteran and we train them up. Our stack used to be JavaScript and Ruby on Rails, but now it's just pure JavaScript. So we're focusing a lot more focus on computer science, functional programming, inventive programming, object-oriented programming. And we also teach React and Node, but the priority is solving problems in the language.
That makes sense.
Yeah. We don't want them coming to the employers with a bunch of CRUD apps. We want them to be able to actually solve those whiteboard problems or those code challenges that they get. So that's where we focus on being able to solve the problem and be able to build things.
Yeah, that makes sense. So how many people do you help out every year?
We used to knock out crazy numbers, but it was quickly getting burnout. So now we're doing about 26 to 30 people a year. Well, no more than 13-man fire team, so about 26 people a year, 2 13-man squads. When I say man, I'm talking about men and women. It's a military lingo, sorry. So 2 13-man squads is the max we usually do, but like I said, we're very selective. This cohort, we only selected 4 because these 4 had already shown us the things that we're looking for in regards to not just aptitude, but willingness to work hard. It's one of those things where, people give us free resources to pass on to you. You're coming through the cohort, you're getting $1,000, from $1,000 to $1,500 worth of free stuff. You're getting mentorship, you're getting hours from, people who could be doing other things with their life. So I need to know you're serious. I need to know that you just want some free resources that you're not even going to know how to use. If I gave them to you, then bounce. So that is, that's what we look for. Very, very serious about that. Where, we want people who are willing to do the work and not people who just want to, show up or not show up to just get the free stuff and then, leave.
Yep. Makes sense.
Yeah. And we've also implemented some cool new things. Like a lot of, for instance, what's really been helping us with our veterans, helping them get jobs, is having them work on the web app. So we teach the stack that they build in, and then we help them pull features. So we're not only teaching them JavaScript, teaching them HTML, CSS, JavaScript, then they're learning Git workflow, Kanban, doing a lot of computer science. Then we move on to React and Node, and then we do all the job training skills. And only after that can they start pulling features from the Trello board, so that way and start showing up to our Sunday stand-ups and seeing get a sign, a ticket, and that's helping, people knock out things. One of our top veterans, he was very integral in the process of moving our current website to React, and he's also been leading the charge on ripping out things that are very jQuery dependent and moving them to React components. And it's really cool when you see things like that. We were one of the first apps on the market using Gatsby, and then this guy comes in and changes some of our sliders stuff, and other veterans are coming in, getting more involved, and they want to they are excited and they want to see what they can do, because it's cool to have a project. It's not just show off, but it's also cool to have something in production, right? And that's what we do. If you don't have an idea, you're always welcome to come to our, we tell the veterans, don't have an idea, always welcome to come here. We'll make sure you're sped up and things like that. You got to pass our metrics before you can touch the web app and get invited to it. But for the most part, they, once they do that and they see the things that we're working on behind the scenes and things that we want to go with our next steps, they're very impressed. And, that's what our goal is, to keep them happy and keep them trained. So when they get the call, they're able to move to a job, and they're able to have not only the skills to pass the test, but they also, they be able to have the backing of, I worked on this app. This app has done so many cool things over the course of 4 years, and I was able to push code to it, type deal. And that works for us. It's worked for them. It's worked for my own career. So that's what one of my goals for this year has been trying really hard to diminish my roles and things so I can focus more on other cool things, particularly moving more and more into virtual reality and augmented reality, as well as more React and Ember style things. And one of those, and giving the things that have in the best code has given me success to other people. We recently had a mentor who ended up getting his dream job at Gremlin, and it was all because he stepped up and he led one of our Ask Me Anything sessions for on my behalf about SRE, and we happened to have that talk was on video, and it was with her, Tammy Patel, who happened to be at Gremlin. He led it, and he wanted to be even studying SRE for a year, and that was the main reason I gave him the opportunity, was because I am not interested in SRE at all. You are. Why don't you take this role? Take a shot and we'll go. And that's what I've been really focusing on the past year and a half, is finding ways to give other people shots to leverage the nonprofit to get what they want out of it at their own careers. So that's what we're about. We're all of, a small team that, right now we're having over 100, 150 people in the channel. We're trying to help all of them and be as, what we like to call, as front site focused as possible. So,
right. Makes sense. Well, very cool. I'm still a big fan of Vetsu Code, and I just love the idea of helping folks out who have served our country. So, yeah.
Thank you. Thank you for support.
Yeah. So what are you working on now? You mentioned virtual reality and some other stuff. Yeah.
My current focus is mostly front-end engineering. I'm working on I don't know if you knew this, but I'm with CBS now. They scooped me up real fast. Working on Ember and React. And when I'm not doing that, I'm working on an app on Oculus for virtual reality in regards to immersive therapy with healthcare.
Oh, cool.
For veterans. So helping with PTSD, immersive therapy, and hoping to be dropping that in November. So it was really fun because I was able to meet the head of product of Oculus 2 weeks ago, and he wanted to get us more resources to be able to leverage that more, and that's pretty cool. So I've been passing emails back and forth with him. But that's been those have been the two big things that I've been really working on. So if it's not Ember and React, it's virtual reality with Oculus.
Very cool. Is there a way that people can get in and support Vetsu Code or your current project with the Oculus Rift?
Oh, well, Oculus project, I'm kind of working on solo with a few guys, but Vetsu Code, go to the website, fill out the form. If you're a veteran, apply. What I will recommend is to research, and we're very serious about the type of people that we're getting. So if you're a veteran and you actually want to do it, I highly recommend you have at least, you don't have to be an expert at JavaScript at all, but you need to at least have tried to write code, try to learn code, at least have a GitHub account or something, a project you can present. The less stuff you have to offer, the less likely you are to get, a callback or a email saying that, hey, you're in, or hey, we'd like to talk to you, because, we're looking for those people that won't waste our resources. Like, especially in our community, it's very hard to say that, but in the end, it's like, these people, companies, they trust us with their resources that we're going to give it to, not just people just because they serve, they're doing what people that know it's going to really impact. They want the impact. So you have to be a lot more discerning when it comes to that.
Makes sense. So is Vetsu Code mostly volunteer supported or donation supported, or how does that all work?
Mixture of both, and mostly volunteers and donations. All the donations go to funding the resources, like to make sure that the wheels start spinning or keep spinning. Like, the servers that we use with DigitalOcean, the resources we use for education, such as Replit. Those are CodePen, our Zoom account, things like that. That's where your money is going. Your money's going, so that way we can support people with their projects, education. So, like, for instance, when we're one of our homework sessions for doing code challenges is all on Replit. So we focus on being able to teach, and then like classrooms on Replit. Same way with CodePen, being able to, somebody is having a problem, they put a code snippet, and because we have that same thing, we can fork it, and we can send them a link and collaborate via CodePen. Now, there are some technologies out there that's making that easier for us to do less things, like, Visual Studio Code just did live share. And so that's something, Slack has always been a big supporter, and we've been able to use our Slack nonprofit account to be able to do really cool things. That's where the donations go. The donations go to make sure, basically, like, when we buy you, if a veteran's URL doesn't have the money at the time to buy their own domain name, we spend the money for that, or we do basically, just resources. Like, that's where that's where all the money goes. Resources, or like situations like, hey, we had a veteran that had a job interview in another place, didn't have the money for that. We'll buy that plane ticket. That's where that's from. So
that's awesome.
That's where your money's going slowly for education or job interviews.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
So,
well, hopefully we can encourage a few more people to go and, either volunteer or donate. But
roger that. And we always like, especially if you're a JS dev, or maybe you have different skills. Because once our students learn JavaScript, we let them, branch out into other things, because we understand not everybody wants to learn JavaScript. Some people want to learn Java. We have one student who's a huge fan of Spring framework. We have some Rails guys in there who are just incredibly insane at Rails. We have one guy who's working on a lot of chatbot technology with Rails, and that's cool. He's able to talk about it. He does a lot of stuff on Twitch about it, and he said he's writing a book on it, and the veterans ask him about it. And that's what we're completely fine with that. Like, that's what we want them to be able to branch out. It's just we want to make sure that they have a really good core concept of programming in a manner that can help them quickly get reach their goals of getting a job as well.
Yep.
So.
Very cool. All right. Well, the last part of the show is picks. Do you have some picks?
Do you run your own freelance business? Or maybe you're thinking about picking up some business on the side? Well, then you need FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the quickest and easiest way to get invoices out to your clients. It's easy to use. It works anywhere, available from any device, on the desktop, iPhone, iPad, Android, and all of your data is backed up and secure. And it makes it really easy to get organized and get paid. You'll be tracking time, logging expenses, and invoicing your clients in no time. You can also save time billing, freeing up several days per month to focus on the work that you love, and you get paid faster. FreshBooks customers are paid on average 5 days faster because there's a link on the invoice that says pay me now. And it's a great way to grow your business. Plus, FreshBooks is offering a 30-day trial. That's right, 30-day trial if you try them out. So go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Once again, for a 30-day trial, go to gofreshbooks.com/devchat and enter devchat in the How Did You Hear About Us section.
Oh yeah, I guess my biggest current pick is Brian Holt. Brian Holt just dropped an Intro to Web Dev version 2. It's going live on Front End Masters. I like that. That's cool. The next biggest pick will be Pragmatic Studio.
Yeah.
Or
Mike Clark.
Yes, Mike Clark. I love that. That's my favorite Ruby resource. It was one of the most useful things I ever did for my career. And that's it. Those are my big 2 picks.
Awesome. Well, I'm going to jump in here with a few picks as well. Now, this episode's going to go out in July, and so I don't know how necessarily relevant this is, but mostly just the thing that's been on my mind lately. We're recording this in May. That's why I'm kind of putting a caveat in there, because it's going to come out 2 months from now. But as we record this, my dad passed away about 2 weeks ago, and I've kind of been struggling with it a little bit. But what I really want to encourage people more than anything else is just to take some time with the people you care about. Make sure that you're not, because I don't have any regrets about anything that I did or didn't do with my dad. And I know a lot of people, as I've kind of gone through this and talked to people about it, a lot of people have regrets about the relationships that they had with people and the things that they wish they had done. I mean, things as simple as the last time I saw him, I wish I'd given him a hug, all the way down to, we put off mending our relationship and now we can't. So, just make sure that you're doing those things. And the other thing that I'm going to pick is Mattermost, which is a Slack clone. It's open source. I have it hosted on a server on DigitalOcean, and I've been opening up the chat rooms. So if you want to go to rubyrogues.com and click on the chat room button, it should just let you right in. You should be able to set up an account and join. And I'm setting up rooms for all the different shows. I'm not sure how active those communities are going to be, but hopefully we have a good number of people by the time this goes live. So.
Roger that, and I'm sorry for your loss. I lost my granddad like a week ago, so I definitely understand that.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm sorry to hear about your granddad too.
He lived a full life. He died due to lung cancer, and he refused chemo in lieu of wanting to enjoy the last year he had. So. Yep. As long as, he was happy, that's what mattered, right?
Yep, absolutely. All right. Well, if people want to see what you're working on these days, I'm assuming you have a Twitter account, you're on GitHub. Do you have a blog somewhere maybe?
Yeah, most of the stuff writing I do is for the Vets Who Code blog. So go on Vets Who Code and type the touch blog. Most of my writing will be there. I'm on Twitter at Jerome Hardaway, GitHub at Jerome Hardaway, Instagram at Jerome Hardaway. But full disclosure, my Instagram is mostly Captain America stuff and food. So you're not gonna learn anything programming wise there. Your best bet is to just go to my GitHub or Twitter. I'm not as active on Twitter. I'm trying to get there on that. I was active 2 weeks ago, but that's because I was at F8 and Google I/O for 2 weeks. So, and that was the most educational and unproductive time of my life. So you can't really code when everybody wants to take you to karaoke. But yeah, those are the best ways to reach me.
All right, sounds good. Well, I don't have any other things to go over, so we'll wrap this one up and we will catch everyone next week.
Bandwidth for this segment is provided by CacheFly, the world's fastest CDN. Deliver your content fast with CacheFly. Visit CACHEFLY.com to learn more.